Ladies and gentlemen, I will go ahead and call to order today's meeting of the Judicial Merit Selection Commission. We have a number of members who joined us remotely, both because of the logistics headaches caused by the Vice President's visit to the State House here this afternoon, as well as the relatively unexpected nature that brings us together, as well as some unexpected illness. Everyone on the commission is present in person or virtually, with the exception of Hope, Ms. Hope Blackley. She is unfortunately having to attend a funeral. She has assigned her proxy to Senator Saab. So we are all gathered, and on motion of Representative Rutherford, seconded by Mr. Safran, the pending question is going into executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. At this point, we will pause our proceedings and go into executive session for a legal briefing. Thank you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now coming out of executive session. For the record, while we were in executive session receiving a legal briefing, no votes were taken and no decisions were made. Ladies and gentlemen, this meeting has been convened to discuss an alleged rule violation by Elise Bailey, candidate for Circuit Court, at-large seat 11. Ms. Bailey, if you would please come to the podium up front. Let me remind you that you are still under oath from your first hearing on November 13th of 2023. And I would ask at this time you would answer questions from staff counsel. Ms. Crater.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bailey. Kate Crater. Were you present at a Judicial Merit Selection Commission public screening hearing on November 13th, 2023? Sorry. And Ms. Bailey, in front of you is a transcript marked Exhibit 1. Do you agree that this is a transcript of your Judicial Merit Selection Commission screening hearing on November 13th, 2023?
I would like to look at it.
Sure.
I'm sure you don't want to keep this laptop. I want to close it, right? This needs to stay open, right?
I don't know.
Look, sorry to interrupt you too. I think Senator Talley was asking me to make sure we turned on the microphone so everybody could hear Ms. Bailey's. So we've got that. I think we're good now.
Yeah, I didn't.
Coming on, I'm not sure.
Okay.
No.
Okay, that better? All right.
And I believe we're at the point where you wanted to take a look at the transcript.
I just want to look at it. I mean, you're asking me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is just a portion of my transcript from my hearing?
Yes, it should be the transcript of your public hearing.
It
before JMSC.
appears to be. I have not read the entire thing, but it appears to be.
At this time, we will enter the transcript of Ms. Bailey's hearing on November 13th, 2023 into the record now. All right, can you please turn to page 249 of the transcript and read aloud lines 15 through 17?
There is a question, and it says, are you familiar with Section 2-19-70, including the limitations on contacting members of the General Assembly regarding your screening? And my answer was, yes, I am.
Thank you. In front of you now is a statute that should be marked Exhibit 2. There's several pages of it, but on page 6, do you recognize that to be South Carolina Code Annotated Section 2-19-70?
Probably so. Yes.
Okay. We will now enter the statute into the record. Can you please read aloud the first sentence of Section 2-19-70C? Should begin with no candidate for judicial office.
The entire paragraph?
Just the first sentence to begin.
Okay. No candidate for judicial office may seek directly or indirectly the pledge of a member of the General Assembly's vote, or directly or indirectly contact a member of the General Assembly regarding screening for the judicial office until the qualifications of all candidates for that office have been determined by the Judicial Merit Selection Commission, and the Commission has formally released its report as to the qualifications of all candidates for the vacancy to the General Assembly.
Thank you.
Okay.
And now can you please read aloud the fourth sentence of that same section, which begins with, for purposes of this section.
For purposes of this section, indirectly seeking a pledge means the candidate or someone acting on behalf or at the request of the candidate, requesting a person to contact a member of the General Assembly on behalf of the candidate before nominations for that office are formally made. I don't have my glasses on. Did I skip? Hold on. Are formally made by the commission.
Thank you. Will you please take a look at the next exhibit in front of you?
Yes.
Do you recognize this text communication?
I do.
We will now enter that exhibit into the record. There are two texts that appear on that page.
Right.
As to the first one, did you send that text communication?
I did.
And when did you send that first text?
Today is Monday because it's MLK Day. I guess that was Friday. I don't know what Friday's date was, but Friday.
Okay, and do you know the time?
It was probably around 9:30 in the morning or so.
And who were the recipients of that first text message?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head like every single name, but I sent the message to a number, mainly it was a group of people in my church that had, and friends of mine, and obviously some people that I thought would have been general supporters, but this is my first lesson in politics that everyone that you think might be a friend is not, but people that had expressed directly or indirectly that all year long, how can I help you? But I couldn't just tell you off the top of my head every single name, but just a group of general people that had been asking at some point, how could we help you?
Okay. There is a second text communication on that page.
Mm-hmm.
Did you send that second text?
I did.
And when did you send that second text message?
Minutes after I sent the first one.
And do you remember who were the recipients of that second text?
The exact same group of people.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions. Thank you, ma'am. Do members of the commission have any questions for Ms. Bailey at this time? All right. On motion of Mr. Strom, seconded by Mr. Rutherford, the question before the commission is now going into executive session for an updated legal briefing. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and we will proceed into executive session. For the record, while we're in executive session receiving a legal briefing, no decisions were made, no votes were taken. I want to add here that part of the reason we need the legal briefing is because the statute, as was recited, is at play here, at issue here, because that statute also appears within our rules at Rule 24. So it's a two-pronged issue. So while we were away getting a legal briefing, Ms. Bailey, I don't know if you've had a legal briefing or not. I see you've got your husband here, a very capable attorney, pastor, I believe, from last time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And young lady, thank you for being here as well. Ms. Bailey, I offered you the opportunity before, or promised you that I would give you the opportunity to say anything you wanted to say about this. Now is that time.
Okay. Well, I guess what's odd about this is that, I mean, there's been no questions to me, I guess, about what is the issue per se outside of the rule that we are citing. And so what I guess I'll just bring up at this moment is that there is a judicial merit selection committee. There's a letter on the website that is explanatory that was written in 1997 that helps us as candidates better understand the rules, and I found it to be very, very helpful. And so in that letter, it specifically says, the commission believes it would not be improper for a candidate to, before screening is complete, request that friends, colleagues, or members of the General Assembly contact members of the General Assembly after the commission has issued its report. And so I believe that I have not violated any rule. I really didn't request anyone to do anything. People had asked me generally how they could help, and I said, if you want to, these are some options of ways you could do that, but you can't do that until after Tuesday at noon. And so I would respectfully request that if there's a specific issue with something in that message, the deponent is here and alive and well and able to testify. I can give context and clarity to the message rather than there just being some assumptions being made.
Yes, ma'am. So I wouldn't say there's assumptions being made. I think the challenge before the commission is that Section 21970 at Section C, as you recited, initially says no candidate may request indirect pledges of any member, right? Do we agree on that part?
That's what it says. Not that I did that, but that's what it says, yes.
Yes, so with that in mind, the further part of the statute that gives us some clarity, and as is relevant here, is the definitions provided within that section of law that say, for purposes of this section, indirectly seeking a pledge means the candidate or someone acting on behalf of the candidate requests a person to contact a member of the General Assembly. The plain reading of the text message, and this is the question for the commission, seems to ask for the third party to contact members of the General Assembly, which the question before the commission is whether or not that communication is violative of this part of the Code of Law and or violative of Rule 24 under our rules. And so that's the issue here. What we've seen this morning is that you've acknowledged the applicability of those rules. You've acknowledged that those rules exist. You've acknowledged the communication. You haven't disputed its authenticity. You've testified as to its distribution. And one could reasonably conclude that those decisions were made with intention. And so now the commission has to consider what it ought to do with your candidacy given all of this information. And I think that's a fair and accurate summation of the state of affairs that we find ourselves in.
May I respond?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So first, I would say that I didn't request or ask them to do anything. And with obviously a few one-offs, most of the people that got that message were people that had directly asked me how they could actually help. The other people that got it, I just, by virtue of relationship, thought that they might be interested and receptive to helping me at some point and might be receptive to receiving that message. I did not ask anyone. I said, if you are willing to help at some point, this is what you can do. I didn't say, will you please contact these people? I said, this is what you can do. This, you guys can't vote. This is not, we don't do elections by the people here, but this is how you can offer help. Secondly, this advisory opinion clearly says that you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to tell your friends and family at this time you can contact them. And so that, I think that's the big issue, that even if we take it from the perspective of saying that I disagree with saying that I asked them to contact them, but even if we said that, I was specifically, there's nothing wrong with that according to this advisory opinion. You can tell them this is how you can help, but you've got to do it after this report is final. And that's exactly what I did. I told them this is how you can help, but you have to do it after noon on Tuesday.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Strom.
Thank you. Ms. Bailey, I'm looking at this text, and the second paragraph says, this is your text,
right.
This Tuesday is a critical day in the election process, so if you have time before then.
Right, I would love to get some clarity to that.
If you have time before then to even just shoot a text or leave a voice message, and obviously this is referencing the previous paragraph about contacting legislators, and back to what I was saying, if you have time before then to even just shoot a text or leave a message, I would be most appreciative. Praying 1,000-fold for you for your kindness in advance. Thank you. Contact them before.
Right. Can I give you some
So let me stop you.
Okay.
I recall from our hearings, we had this challenge before. We have a court reporter who has threatened the wrath of God upon me if I allow people to speak at more than one at a time. So I just encourage everybody one at a time for my own health and safety. Thank you.
Can I speak to that, sir? So if you ask anyone up here, I have been working very, very hard between the holidays, between being up here all last week. Last Friday, well, this past Friday was the first day I'd been in my office in probably weeks. I was tired. I was moving too fast for my own good. If you've ever sent an email and realized I forgot to attach the attachment, most of the people, like I said, that clearly there were some one-offs, most of the people that got that message were people in my church group who on multiple occasions have asked me, oh, you're traveling to a delegation meeting that day. Can let me know? I want to pray for you on those days. You've got an interview on this day. I want to pray for you. I was trying to say, contact me. You can't text a legislator's office. I was asking them to, a lot of these people that got that message would send, I would wake up in the morning to encouraging text messages. People would leave me voicemails or encourage me during the week. I was asking them to text me, and I was obviously texting too quickly and left out that they were supposed to be and I get that it was a poorly written text message. I was tired and busy, and technology gets the best of us all sometimes. But I want to make a distinction between the fact that I was not asking them to text them or voicemail them before Tuesday.
But that didn't really reconcile with your next text, which is hold off, exclamation point, don't call until Tuesday at noon, exclamation point, exclamation, I think it's 6 of them in red. So you want to explain that to me?
Absolutely. So once I picked up my phone and reread the fact that, again, moving too quickly, I told them how they could help, but not when, and I realized I didn't put oh wait, you can't do that until Tuesday at noon. I needed to hurry up and let people know that. I didn't want to have to send a whole nother wordy text message of, let me clarify what I was trying to say. No matter how you interpreted it, just don't do anything until Tuesday at noon, is what I was just trying to quickly tell them.
One more follow-up, Ms. Bailey. You enjoy an excellent reputation in the community and in the legal community, and I hate that this has happened, but you're a lawyer, and you want to be a judge, and rules are important, and words are important. And, you know, this commission tries to be consistent with what we do, and we make people abide by the rules. And I don't read this the way you read it. I don't, and I'm sorry. I don't necessarily think it's intentional on your part, but this looks to me like you crossed the line, you realized you crossed the line, and you sent a follow-up text, and I don't read it that you're asking people to contact you before Tuesday to pray for you or something. I read this as you asking them to reach out to legislator. That word's in there.
Well, I am here alive in the flesh to give you my context and clarity. So,
Ms. Bailey, I appreciate you being here, and I don't want to belabor this point, but I think it's relevant to the analysis here. And insofar as you rely on the ethics opinion that you cited to available, I think what's important in that opinion is that the commission. This is the report I'm citing, says the commission believes it would not be improper for a candidate to, before screening is complete, request that friends, colleagues, or members of the General Assembly contact members of the General Assembly after the commission issues its report. After, underlined. That report is not issued until Tuesday at noon. And so contacting them before that point to ask them to make contact, I think, is where a violation has occurred.
May I speak to that?
Yes, ma'am.
I think the whole point of this letter is the fact that that part of the rule, I think the whole point of this particular letter is that that sentence was to clarify the whole before and after. It's not improper for you to ask before, to talk to these people before. You've got to tell them they can't talk to anyone until after. That's the way that I read the rule and that I interpreted it. And that, I think that, if anything, it should be construed against the drafter if there's an issue there, because I think the whole point is that's why this whole letter was issued, was to give clarity to helping us understand the rule. If not, the rule says what it says. We wouldn't even need this letter.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. Any other commission members have questions? I see Senator Rankin's hand. Senator Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of quick questions, Ms. Bailey, and I'm sorry I'm not there having you crane looking back to see who I am, but thank God for Zoom and our ability to communicate fast with folks if we need to. Two things I think. One, your prior communications in writing with either members of your church or certainly members of the General Assembly, did you write ever, and forgive me if you wrote me, I just don't recall it, but did you write formally members of the General Assembly or friends or family about your candidacy?
We all sent introduction letters, of course.
All right,
And I'm pretty sure I did not send anything to, I'm very careful about not sending anything to any of y'all on the JMSC.
okay. And I'm not looking for an example, but I trust that in any communication prior to these texts, you would have been aware and would have included that you cannot seek a pledge of support before the release of the report, correct?
I'm not quite sure I understand this question because I have never sent a message or letter or anything to anyone in my personal life about, this is the only message I've ever sent to anyone about at some point helping with contacting a legislator. So I'm not quite sure I understand the question. I think the answer would be no, because I've never sent anything like that.
All right, and in terms of you as a sharp lawyer, and I recall your presentation to us before, again, as Mr. Strom said, you do enjoy a great reputation, but you would have to agree, would you not, that the clear reading of the law, Section 219, or Title II, Section 1970, does not support your interpretation of this rule?
I disagree. I think that this advisory opinion, the reason it was issued, literally says to, where does it say? Opinion is issued in an effort to help candidates for judicial office comply with the law, to help us better understand, essentially, the rule. So I think where we're disagreeing is that you are trying to hold to a strict interpretation of that rule, whereas this letter that is out there that clarifies the rule for us, I believe I'm still within having abided by that.
And I appreciate that. You cited that it was offered in 1997, is that correct?
And it is still published on the website and does not say that it was ever taken back or repealed or anyway.
When we asked you questions, I don't recall your exact answer, but you have studied previous screenings of other candidates before, correct?
I don't know if I would say studied.
Well, are you aware of prior incidents where this issue has come up and the results of those?
No, sir.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any other members of the commission have questions or comments? Ms. Rutherford.
Mrs. Bailey, I just wanted, you said a number of times, may I respond to that, and I just wanted you to know this is not the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. If you want to talk to your husband, you want to talk to anybody behind you and come back and ask us questions, it's fine. We're not rushing. Nobody here is in a hurry. I mean, it's a holiday, but we're not here to, this is not an inquest. We're just trying to get to the bottom of what happened and what the proper response under the statute for us must be. But again, it's not a situation where we want you to feel like you better come up with the answer right now. We have questions, and if you have questions, feel free. If your husband has questions that he wants to ask you, let us know. The reading of the statute just seems to indicate that, and I go to the last sentence, that asking someone to reach out to a member of the General Assembly is in and of itself it's an odd statute, but it is in and of itself a violation. And I guess if the response is going to be that the letter that was to provide clarity seemingly does not provide clarity, that it would allow a text, and if it was written in 1997, I don't know, were we texting back then? I don't know, but seemingly would allow, I guess is your assertion, text to members of the text to your friends to reach out to members of the General Assembly, but only after Tuesday.
Right. And again, I would take issue with the fact that I asked them to reach out. These are people that, like I said, most of them had directly asked me how they could help. I simply, it's in capital letters, it says if you would like to, this is how you can help. Nowhere in there does it say directly, will you please call Senator Rutherford, Senator
Please don't demote me like that. I'm not old. But go ahead.
Will you please call Representative Rutherford and ask him XYZ? It does not say that. There's no ask, there's no question mark. It is simply a this is how. So I made no request.
Okay.
All right. Other members of the commission have any questions or comments? Ms. Bailey, I'll give you final word here before we move on to take any motions that may come from members.
Well, I guess, can I take a moment, a break, I guess, and talk to my family and husband, I guess? What happens? I guess I don't quite understand how this process works.
So if you'd like to take a couple of minutes, you say 5, 10 minutes?
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to even address the body today and the time that you've taken throughout this process. So thank you for even allowing me to present some context and clarity. I appreciate that opportunity. Secondly, I would still just like to emphasize that I think that I know that I'm well within the rule. I don't know why the advisory opinion exists, why it's posted, if it's not something that we should be allowed to reference. And so I believe that I am within the rule. I would never have intentionally violated the rule. I've been working very, very hard. Certainly I would not have thrown all of that out the window over a text message. So I believe that what I was doing, and still believe, is within the rules. So just wanted to get that on the record, that that the reputation that you say that I have is because I do believe in following the rules. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. We will proceed now to the portion of our agenda with respect to the motions. Any motions that need to be made? I see Mr. Jordan moving his hand. Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that for the commission to be able to take basically the next step in discussing this, I think we need a formal motion to reconsider the candidate's status by way of qualification and nomination. And so I would make that motion to reconsider so that further discuss if there is a second. I second.
The pending question for the body is Mr. Jordan's motion to reconsider the vote whereby Ms. Bailey was found qualified nominated. A motion was seconded by Senator Rankin. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Is there any further discussion with respect to Ms. Bailey's qualification? Or is there a motion to that effect? Senator Rankin.
Mr. Chairman, I regrettably and unfortunately and with no happiness or glee, do believe that this is a clear violation of the law. And again, I appreciate the context and the explanation by Ms. Bailey, but regrettably, I believe that this to be a clear violation whereby past screenings have reflected, unfortunately, this event that has occurred at least 2 other times. And so for that reason, I moved that my prior vote to find Ms. Bailey that she be qualified be affirmed, but I do now move to find Ms. Bailey to not nominate her for this candidacy.
Yes, sir. So I appreciate that. My understanding from talking with staff counsel is that the first issue we have to take up is the qualification vote. And so am I correct in understanding that you were making a motion to find her qualified and presuming that your wishes were to be the will of the body, we then would be in a position to take up a motion for nomination or a vote on the nomination. So would the proper motion then be to find her qualified from Senator Rankin?
Please.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I would second that. I don't find that this is willful, so I agree that she should remain qualified, and we'll discuss nominating after we vote on that, but I agree with that position.
All right. That then being the pending question, motion made by Senator Rankin, seconded by Mr. Strom. All in favor of finding Ms. Bailey qualified, signify by raising your hand and saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and Ms. Bailey will be found qualified. Now, Mr. Senator Sapp.
Thank you, Chairman. In purposes of record with Ms. Blackley's proxy, I would also vote that Ms. Blackley would vote in the affirmative that she be found qualified.
Thank you for clarifying that for the record. Senator Rankin.
Likewise for Senator Kelly.
Thank you. Discussion with respect to nomination. Mr. Strom, I don't know if you wanted to continue.
I will. Were we going to vote on that? Oh, we voted on that.
We'll talk about it first, and then we'll vote on it.
No, but we voted on qualified.
Can I, before you make that motion, just real quick, and just initially when I was given a copy of the text, I didn't know whether it violated the rules or the statute or not, just because there's so many as it relates to this. And for those of you that have paid attention, a lot goes into creating the statute, and sometimes it seems to defy logic and common sense with what it is asking and what is in fact a pledge and what is in fact asking a member of the General Assembly to do something, what is in fact asking a member of JMSC, what conversations can be had. And I've seen Ms. Bailey from afar, and I've stated she's my neighbor, but I've seen her from afar recently because when I enter the room, she goes the other way to be in compliance with the statute. And as do a number of judges and other candidates, even though the law allows you to say hello, just not talk about your candidacy, but most people out of an abundance of caution do exactly that. And I'm sure they do that with other members of the screening committee as well. It is troublesome when we have a letter that seems to give guidance that may be more confusing than the actual statute. And so someone relying on what they believe is a letter that is giving clearance and giving guidance, and the letter may actually be leading them down a path that leads them here, is troubling. And so I do take Mrs. Bailey at her word. I do see the text message and the statute and understand how someone in reading that could believe that they were in compliance with the law and the spirit of the law by sending out a text message. And I just wanted to make that clear because as I read it, it didn't jump out to me what the conduct was supposed to be. And so I just wanted to say that I hear you. So.
Thank you.
Any other member of the commission? All right. At that point, then we need to. We have had 4 candidates in this race be found qualified. 2 have already been nominated. We have 2 candidates this remaining that could be nominated, and so. Those individuals being Ms. Elise Bailey and the Honorable Russell D. Hilton. Ms. Critter, I think a roll call vote is required for this. Yeah. If you would please call the roll or explain the balloting process. How about that?
We will vote twice. I will call the name. So we will start. You will have 1 vote among 2 candidates. The 2 candidates remaining who have been found qualified are R. Elise Bailey and the Honorable Russell D. Hilton. Again, members, you will each have 1 vote. We will start with R. Elise Bailey. Chair, yes.
Unreadiness. It is not necessary that she continue to stand at the podium. She certainly could, but
Certainly not.
Okay, that's fine.
You're perfect. Thank you.
it's also not even necessary for her to remain in the room, but she is welcome to. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just,
You can stay.
Again, this will be a vote for R. Elise Bailey. Chairman Caskey, Senator Rankin, Senator Sabb, Senator Talley, Representative Rutherford,
Aye.
Representative Jordan, Ms. Blackley, Ms. McIver, Mr. Saffron, and Mr. Strom. The next candidate is, yes.
Senator Sabb.
Sabb and Blackley vote aye.
Thank you. The next candidate is the Honorable Russell D. Hilton. Chairman Caskey,
Aye.
Senator Rankin, Senator Sabb, Senator Talley, Representative, yes, Representative Rutherford, Representative Jordan, aye, Ms. Blackley, Ms. McIver, Mr. Saffron, and Mr. Strom. The votes are 3 for Ms. Elise Bailey and 6 for the Honorable Russell D. Hilton.
With that, the commission finds that the Honorable Russell D. Hilton will be nominated, having already been found qualified, as nominated for Circuit Court at-large seat 11. There being no further business on our agenda today, the commission will stand adjourned. Thank you all for being here.